Hello, and welcome to the Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton.
Hi, welcome to the April 1st, 2022 edition of the Astrology podcast. My name is Shelley Overton. I am in Orlando, Florida, which, by the way, we have none of this here in Orlando. We have a lot of palm trees and not a lot of water. Anyway, I thought you might enjoy having something a little more tropical behind me this week. We're going to jump on the bandwagon, I suppose, and talk about back. Apparently, things were not working properly, but we're not surprised. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Oscars event and what's coming up this week. Probably not going to be a super long show this week. Just probably the atmospheric conditions. Okay, so what happened? Well, it was around 7:00 p.m. Pacific, and I didn't make note of the exact time, but I was watching it here in Orlando, and it was close to 10 p.m. when this happened. So I'm going to look here at the chart for that in LA, and basically you can pretty much see, after last week's podcast, that the energy of Aries was very much in this chart. Mercury at 1 degree of Aries, Sun at 7. It just went over the horizon it's rotating down. So in a way, like, we have this snapshot of the moment. And if the chart were rotating from, let me see, how would it be for you? I have to reverse this. Okay, there. If it were rotating this way, I don't know why I can't do this. If it were going like this, then it would just be coming up on the horizon. So it isn't. It's actually going this this way. So the chart rotates upward from the ascendant. And anyway, a photograph of this moment in time shows that the sun is at the last degree of the opposite side of the chart, which is the descendant. And it was a 6-degree ascendant at 7 p.m. Again, it probably happened just a little after. If I remember, it was like around 10 after. But we're going to go with this because I don't have that exact time. And that means that we have this intensity of Mercury just entering Aries. And of course, Mercury is communication and Aries is aggression and assertiveness. Jupiter is in Pisces, which is interesting because it is a film and entertainment event. Neptune and Pisces rule film and photography, and Jupiter is that freedom to do what we think, and it's in the house of work at that moment. Of course, there are 3 degrees between Jupiter and Neptune, so there was this expression of freedom and sentimentality or emotion. And let's see, Mars was at 16 of Aquarius. I heard that Chris Rock had ad-libbed the line that he gave. He had not planned on doing that joke, but he just did it in the moment. And then the moon, which of course represents women and the set of emotions that we feel in that given moment, 2 degrees off of Mars. So of course, you're going to act on your emotion in that kind of energy. And then you have Venus and Saturn. So I find that interesting because Jada Pinkett Smith definitely, to me, strikes me as a very strong woman and someone, obviously, given what happened, her presence matters in that family, her opinion. And I want to say she's kind of like the center of the show. And so Saturn and Venus represent her. Moon and Mars represent Will Smith. And then I would say Chris Rock, definitely being the comedian. He's Jupiter, or Jupiter, usually Sagittarius is a sign assigned to comedians. And then Jupiter, of course, rules Sagittarius. But Mercury, the words that stung, the words that wounded, the words that were aggressive. from my perspective, he stepped over the line. You don't talk about people's personal hair, their physique, anything on the body is not really fair game. We don't know what's going on. I have been thinking a lot about her recently, and I didn't know she came out with alopecia, but I thought she had cancer because I know her daughter, Willow, I believe also shaved her head recently. And usually that's kind of a sign of solidarity. It's a kind of it's a show of solidarity with her mother. And usually that happens when someone is going through chemo and they know they're going to lose their hair. So they shave their head, and someone else shaves their head together, and they go through it together. So that is kind of how I saw that. I didn't know she came out with alopecia. And so she had a medical condition, which I kind of suspected anyway, before he said what he said, before Chris Rock said what he said. And when he did, I was like, yeah, that's kind of stepping over the line. But the line was crossed even further on the other side. And Will Smith going up on stage to do what he did, when he went up there, I immediately knew this was a Mercury in Aries moment. There had been some reporters talking about, they didn't know if it was a joke. Chris Rock himself wasn't sure it was real or what was happening. And, you can look at it and wonder, I suppose it depends on what your perspective is. Anyone else might have thought, wow, what the heck's he going to do? When he was getting up on stage, I'm like, this is not good, because I knew that now we are in the time of Aries. And of course, that Mercury at 1 degree is brash. It's literally the degree of being born. It's, hey, I'm going to do what I need to do to get out here. And having the moon right next to Mars, remember Mars rules Aries, and it's in Aquarius. So it's kind of a loose cannon energy. And the moon, immediately we feel and then we act. And that's kind of the energy. And then you have Venus and Saturn, and they're cooperating and very grounded. And so if we look at Chris Rock's chart, he's an Aries rising with a 27-degree Aries moon. I had read about him, and he said that he curtailed a lot of his anger because when he was young, he got angry and he was afraid of the power of his anger. So he always goes overboard and treats people super nicely. And so he definitely has anger issues, and they're not traditional anger issues where he's angry at people and can't control it. It's like he's overcompensated. And he said he was going into therapy or had been in therapy to teach him how to appropriately express his anger so he doesn't feel out of control with it, which is really interesting because karmically, if you're, especially when you have planets in Aries, just entering Aries, you're going to feel that. And so in this chart, you have Mercury, Sun, Chiron, and Moon all clustered right there just above the horizon in his chart. So it was a very strong karmic, universal awakening to the power of anger and calling him in his chart and in his life to really review what that anger is doing and what it is day to day and how he interacts with it. And I did read he had not expressed much about the incident for the course of most of the week. And he said he's still going over what happened and digesting it. So yeah, I mean, that's good. You take a moment, you try to see what's going on. He has Saturn at 5 degrees Pisces and Chiron at 16. He's like 4 months younger than I am, or 5 months younger than I am. So he has similar planets in parts of his chart. And so, he's learning to deal with some of the energy of what happened on that day. And not only just on the day he was slapped, but also throughout the course of his life. He has a very strong Aries theme about his life. And then his Mars is at 27 Virgo. And Virgo tends to be more humble, and they are ruled by Mercury. And so, of course, the second Mercury changed signs, it's in an inconjunct energy to his Virgo, he was affected that way. And then he has a 6-degree Mercury in Aquarius in his natal chart. So yeah, he's got some really strong aspects going on that were triggered at that moment. And then, of course, it was 2 people involved, so not just him. And Will Smith, now I've got him for September 25th, 1968 at 9:47 p.m. And the time was based on his memory, according to what I read on Astro Theme. And that's where I got this chart, or got the information for the chart. He has an interesting chart as well. His Saturn's at 23 Aries, so it's, of course, very close to Chris Rock's moon. So there was a Saturn moon connection there. And you have to remember, when we act out, we are processing something in our own psyche, that it is a projection, pretty much, what he did. And it means that, I mean, you could see when they first put the camera on him, on Will Smith, that he was laughing at the joke. And then they showed his wife and she was not having it. So a second later, he probably recognized that she was not happy with that joke, and it registered what had just been said. So it took a moment to sink in, and then he acted on impulse. And that was totally Aquarian. That's totally Mars. And so he has a 2-degree Mars in Virgo also. So they both share Mars in Virgo. But Will Smith's is at the beginning degrees of Virgo, which means there are lessons to learn. He just came into that energy when he was born. Just before Will Smith was born, Mars was in Leo. So there is kind of, and just over the cusp, it means that there is an expression of the energy of the fire sign before it, because when a planet shifts to a new sign, it basically releases the old energy. So the old energy of Mars in Leo is now being expressed. So that trigger for a 1-degree Mercury in Aries, and then the moon joining up with Mars, affected his own Mars in a sense of protection for his family. And keep in mind that Virgo, while it's of service, it is also a sign of the military, and that is martial energy. So he expressed that martial energy by that trigger from Mercury to his Mars. And then he has Venus at 29 degrees of Libra. He has Mercury at 28 Libra. And so normally his chart, well, again, you also have to recognize he's got 3 planets in Libra, which can activate the opposite. I usually attribute 4 planets in a sign to kick over to the other side. But definitely having a 2-degree Mars in Virgo, a 3-degree Sun in Libra, both early degrees, he's learning how to integrate the ego, and especially having the ego just been in Virgo right before he was born, like 3 days before he was born, the sun was in Virgo. Libra is also the diplomat because it's expressing this balance energy. So his chart really shows a lot of I'm a good guy kind of energy. He really does have that humility in his chart, and yet his Mars is right there at the beginning of Virgo, trying to manifest some sense of self and ego associated with where it had just been, but also the trigger now being in a fire sign. And then, of course, his Chiron is at 0 degrees of Aries. And that means that Mercury exactly conjuncted to his natal Chiron, which is a wounding. So there's something in his psyche that was triggered. And because it's up in his house of community, he's feeling like his community was threatened with this energy. And Mercury expressed it out in a very aggressive way in his mind. Keep in mind, all these Virgo planets he has, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, are about receptivity and feminine energy. Virgos are, oh, excuse me, that was Libra. His Virgo planets are Mars, Jupiter, Pluto, Uranus, which is 4 planets, and that can kick over to Pisces. Either one. So Virgo's humble, and Pisces is rather anti-confrontational. So naturally, that part of his chart is kind of like, and it's also in the lower half of his chart, which makes him much more behind the scenes and not wanting to be, which is interesting as an actor. He is very much in the public eye, which is his Saturn in Aries, which is self-promotion. But every other planet down there in the lower half of this chart is saying, I want to hide, I want to run away. And I would guess that right now, that's probably what he's doing. He immediately came out with an apology for the Academy. Took him a little longer, I think like a day or so, to come out with an apology to Chris Rock. And I'm sure in retrospect, he sees everything that he did wrong or that was going on. I think they probably both are using this as a learning experience and a lesson. And I want to say, the police were asked about, like they were brought in, and Chris Rock said, no, I don't want to press charges. And that was an option. So of course, Aries ruling the police, that was an interesting aspect of this whole event. And then at the same time, most of the planets for Aries were, well, the energy of Aries is below the horizon in the house of the subconscious. So subconsciously, I think that probably it's likely Chris wanted a certain amount of revenge, but I think his ability to get a hold of himself and he didn't even rub his face. I mean, I watched him take that hit. He didn't even rub his face, like it was sore. He barely skipped a beat, definitely in shock, was what I read. And so I was kind of amazed that he expected it was part of a joke on Will's part. I think I read that he said he knew Will, he's obviously a comedian, and he thought maybe it was part of that. And I know certain political TV stations are couching it as a marketing ploy for the Oscars. And that's rather cynical. I think you have to look at these things at face value and register your immediate reaction emotionally to it. And, those of us who are a little bit more aware of how our emotional responses can get the better of us, take a minute to integrate what we saw and then really evaluate the nature of what that was. And I could see fairly quickly that, yeah, he was really ticked off. And I think the whole audience's reaction as well, it was one of being stunned, and they didn't really know how to react. So it was just another interesting event, and honestly did not surprise me. I kind of watched anticipating that there were going to be events happening that were like this, because that's kind of, you expect at the Oscars, especially when there are transits. I've seen in the past, a lot of these transits do come out at the Oscars. So yeah, it's pretty interesting how they just tend to attract events like this, when, especially during speeches and people using speeches for their own ends, which Will Smith did actually go, I think they each get a minute, and he took 5 minutes and nobody interrupted him. So yeah, he definitely had a moment in the spotlight, and I have a feeling he's going to probably hide from a bit of the spotlight afterwards. And I'm sure he'll probably want to put it behind him. So it'll come up again next year. Of course, it's going to be in spring and in Aries time of year. So of course, it's going to get a lot of legs next year. Okay, so let's look at what's going on in the sky today. It is April Fool's Day. I'm not a fan. I find that a lot of people who do April Fool's jokes tend to be more mean-spirited and take advantage of people's trust. So I'm not a big fan of that day. I have pulled pranks on people, just stupid little whimsical pranks, but it isn't really my favorite day. I don't mind April, and the energy of April is spring and flowers and Easter, and really, quite honestly, one of my favorite times of year. My daughter's in Aries, of course, so I really do like Aries energy. But yeah, we do have Mercury at 10 degrees today, conjoined the sun. So they are combust. That means that the sun is basically going to overlight the energy of Mercury, and our thoughts and our communications are strongly ego driven. Now, I will say that the sun represents ego, and it also represents self. And it doesn't mean that we have to only express the sun as ego. It is one of the many things that it represents. It represents personality and the face that we put on for other people, the image that we have, status, being in the light, humor, Leo is ruled by the sun. It is about creativity and crafting and romance and children. There's a lot that the sun represents. And so today, definitely in Aries, this is about children, and it can be about violence. I'm not looking forward to that. It just came into my mind the second. Mercury is expression. Sun is where the light is shown. And then Aries is, like I've said in past podcasts, when I can't remember which planet was in Aries there, or maybe it was Mars. There was the energy of the George Floyd event and everything, the uprising of the Black community was very strongly associated with Aries. And also because there's a police connection, that was probably part of why that happened. But I've assigned this Aries energy to the experience of being Black or African American. And I find it really interesting if you look at it that way. Will Smith and Chris Rock are both Black, and immediately they're the ones who had that conflict. So it is very much literal in that aspect. And then Chiron, because the Sun and Mercury are both 1 degree or less away from Chiron, it is the wounding. And we're seeing it very clearly in the spotlight. This chart shows that energy at the midheaven. I said last week, late in the podcast, that what happened with this Chinese airline disaster may come out today with more information as Mercury joins the Sun. And then, of course, Chiron was at 11 degrees. The Sun today is at 11 degrees. Chiron's moved on 1 degree to 12. And so it's moved a little bit, but because the Sun and Mercury will both be joining Chiron, it is the wounding. It is the wounding in the Black community of what happened on Sunday. I'm sure that that was difficult to watch. And then, of course, the Chinese air disaster with both planets joining up with Chiron, which is, or at 11 degrees Aries, which is where Chiron was when it happened. That's going to bring out the communication and shine light on that event. I'm going to research it here after the podcast is over. The moon now is past those degrees. And so the moon is now at 17 degrees and does not join with another planet till the end of the sign, and then goes in and into Taurus. So the new moon happened overnight between time zones. Pacific, it was at 2:37 a.m. and Eastern, let's see. Yeah, moon and sun joined up at 2:24 a.m. Eastern. And let's see, I can't find it. Oh, there it is, 11:24 p.m. I can do the math. I didn't do the math. Anyway, yeah. So overnight, last night, we had the new moon, which in Aries means there's a new energy wanting to come in, a new way of looking at things. And because the new moon is joined with Chiron and Mercury at the same time, it means that, it's even more potent, more powerful for setting new intentions, for birthing something new. And it's about self-promotion. It can be emergencies. I've had a lot of sirens going by. We live fairly close to a major road, and a lot of sirens have been going by in the course of this week. I've seen the fallout from at least 3 accidents and multiple near misses. And so it's in the air right now. Mercury is only at 10 degrees. It's got 20 more degrees to go to get out of this energy. So of course, a couple days from now, probably another emergency or disaster of some sort is likely. And that means Saturday, Sunday timeline, that there's something aggressive. Unfortunately, Aries also rules weapons. So there could definitely be something associated with someone aggravated and weapons involved. And again, Aries is also youthful energy. So it could be a youth doing it, or it could be acted upon youth. So I'm just giving you that notification. Venus now 25 degrees Aquarius. She is so in her own energy. She's like, I'm doing my own thing. Don't talk to me. Nothing's happening here. There is an integration of energy. She's even past the nodal energy, the north and south node. She just passed it about 2 days, day and a half ago. So that would have been like Wednesday. She was in a T-square between the nodes, but now she's like, leaving that behind. Pluto at 28 degrees. She is going to sextile Pluto here. Or no, excuse me, inconjunct. I was looking at the wrong sign. She's going to inconjunct. So there may be some friction about new energy coming in and events, or Well, new energy is always Aquarius, but old energy is Pisces, and she's getting ready to move into Pisces. So I definitely feel that we've been hearing all week long about a couple musicians who've passed prematurely. The lead singer for The Wanted died at 33 of cancer, and the drummer for Foo Fighters died this week. And I didn't hear, I mean, I know speculation was drugs. I heard heart issues, so I didn't really hear a final answer on what he died of. But he was only 50, so very young, still very energetic, it seemed, and engaged with the fans. But Venus now going into Pisces shifts it from that energy. And of course, Jupiter is musicians, Jupiter in Pisces, conjunct Neptune, endings, 21 degrees, last decan of Pisces is going to be endings. Venus is now going to be moving into Pisces. So we'll probably hear about somebody in the entertainment industry, or it could be poetry, photography, entertainment. I don't know. Annie Leibovitz came to mind for some reason. Hopefully she's okay and nothing's going on with her. I'm pretty sure she's still alive, but it does have to do with film and photography. It also deals with sentimentality and the vintage energy. So things that we have that are older may be coming to an end. We just replaced the faucet in the house, which is water, and it was close to 20 years old. So, things are wearing out. They're getting past their prime, and it's time for them to finish off that story. Even though Neptune and Pluto are in sextile, which is very positive energy, that can mean that they finish up their story and then the energy is transmuted to move on to the next phase, meaning we get something new or it's beneficial to us. So Friday, new moon energy, definitely initiation, marketing, your face in the world, your place in the world, building something, constructing something new. Everything I've listed under Aries, just know that those are highly focused energy right now, and issues may come in around emergencies and marketing and self-promotion and human resources, all those things. Okay, Saturday, we have the moon moving into Taurus in the evening, and we also have Mercury conjunct Chiron at exact 9:42 a.m. Eastern. And then right after it at 9:51, 9 minutes later, is the moon squaring Pluto. So Saturday is going to be another difficult day. Yeah, I'm just going to say that there's a potential. It could be also spiritual. We've got Jupiter joined with Neptune now, and that is spirituality. So there could be religious association with something coming in on Saturday. It is the beginning of Ramadan at sundown on Saturday. And then Sunday, we have Moon in Taurus joining up with Uranus in Taurus. The unexpected, that is also finances, love, relationships. It rules the body. There could be something unexpected. It rules the joints. Just be careful actually this weekend between the Aries energy and Uranus energy. Mercury now in Aries and Uranus. The moon conjunction is going to trigger more erratic behavior, but in Taurus, the moon and Uranus associate to the body, something physical within the body. Let's see, Monday, lots of Taurus interacting with all the planets, couple squares, one with Mars, one with Saturn. So there will be restriction of action and restriction of maybe more of our mind, and the ability to think clearly is going to be restricted. And then Mars joins with Saturn, 9:51 p.m. Mars and Saturn have been really close this week, but it's exact on Monday. And so that's going to mean whatever happened, the actions are going to have to face the music. And that includes what happened with Will Smith and Chris Rock. He's probably going to get, on Monday, there will be a decision from the Academy what they're going to do about the event. So I'm just wondering what's going to happen with this Oscar. I'm not suggesting or predicting anything with it, like if they take his Oscar or not, but they'll probably fine him or restrict him in some way because of that Mars joined Saturn. It's just part of it. Then the moon squares Venus at 9:53, 2 minutes later. So there's definitely, that's an interesting energy for Will Smith because it could mean a hit to his finances. So I'm thinking maybe a fine. And then the moon enters Gemini at 11:04 p.m. Eastern and stays in Gemini in the evening. And then Tuesday, Wednesday goes into Cancer, 11:30 a.m. on Thursdays. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, definitely watch out for people not telling you the truth, or spammers or hackers, people trying to suck you in, because that energy, Aries joined with the sextile to Gemini, gives a lot more power and fuel to the fire of expressing thoughts. So I definitely see it more of a contentious early week. Thursday with the Cancer moon, and then Mercury is sextile to Saturn, so it's a little bit easier with the energy. Definitely more productive on Thursday, and then having moon enter Cancer, we're going to again, hole up and take care of ourselves and our bodies and our minds, the body, mind, spirit connection, water energy, wanting to be more emotional and closed off. Right now is tough. It's tough for Capricorn and tough for Aries and tough for Cancer and tough for Libra, because they're the cardinal signs that are all feeling this Aries Capricorn energy with Pluto, and then also the energy of 4 planets, including Chiron, which honestly, I think Chiron's a dwarf planet. So that's the size of it, or maybe it was reclassified as a dwarf planet. It's not technically an asteroid, I don't think, anymore. So it's much more intense, but Chiron, the beauty of Chiron is that I see Chiron as a myth, more like, honestly, super sweet. Like, Chiron was hurt emotionally by rejection. And, now we've got this energy of Chiron in Aries. So there's a certain amount of rejection associated with what's going on, especially, people and their behavior towards Will Smith. And it'll be interesting to see how that whole thing plays out, because that Chiron can make you contrite and really pull back and feel bad. There's a strong possibility that it will really motivate Will Smith to do something about violence. I think his apology was well worded, and he did touch on the point that violence is never acceptable. And I agree. We just need to slow down and take a breath and take a minute and process what we're feeling. Because I can guarantee, if you're being triggered by something that's more aggressive, you're reacting to the emotion of the other person. And if the other person is saying or behaving in a way that's aggressive, it's their insecurity that's coming out. And there's a synergy and a connection of interaction. There's an integration of interaction where events come about because two entities meet vibrationally. And so we're going to see that this week, I think. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out about the plane crash. And of course, Putin, he's claiming he's going to back up, and he's like slowing down certain aggressive behavior towards Kyiv. But, I agree with Ukraine, and let's not trust him. I think he has a history of lying. He has a history of self-interest, and it's probably going to continue. So I think the only way he's going to get his lesson is a very strong, undeniable event. So we'll keep an eye on that. Definitely with what's going on with the COVID stuff, we are in a cycle of this renewed energy around it. I mean, I've told you my pink on, let me see, there it is, my pink on my calendar are the days when COVID has a greater stronghold. And we just got out of that. So we may not even see it here for a little bit, but I've got the month of April has a lot of pink in it. And I just drew lines down every section, because those are the degrees. Definitely Pisces is an energy that makes the fluid in our bodies more susceptible to things. Again, Pisces is opposite Virgo. So whenever fluids are exposed to these diseases, I mean, we can spread them, we can have them integrated through, atomized saliva or whatever, but the second half of April, I would venture to say is going to be a stronger COVID part of the year. And then Juno is triggering Pisces as well. It's not in the late degrees of Pisces, but it's in Pisces. So that's a potential addition. And that would be connecting of couples. It's more of a romantic energy or finding a partner. So that could be something where you give it to your significant other. And then we have a Mercury retrograde coming up. Mercury, and this is the end of the month. Mercury goes into its shadow on the 27th of April, and that's at 25 degrees of Taurus. So Mercury's only in Aries until the middle of the month, till the 11th of April. And then he will be in Taurus. So we'll have more of a discussion around money, relationships, and more of a thinking, like taking time to really be in what we feel the whole situation is about. It's an earth sign, so it's going to ground a lot of the energy. And right now it's fiery energy. And I think I heard there were some fires, I want to say in Wyoming. Not totally. Oh, no. Boulder had some fires last week, Boulder, Colorado. So yeah, just Aries energy, firefighters. So we're going to have some of that still. Yeah, we've got this with the bowl, or the cluster stellium of planets, all really in 4 houses in this chart. So it's the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th in this chart. So for the podcast, that's where they're at. And just in the sky, they're only in 4 houses of the sky. And those houses are 3 out of 4 are the end houses of the zodiac. So it is really wrapping up an ideology, a way of looking at things, a karmic energy. And then we move into Aries, and it came in definitely March left with like a lion, I think. I believe it left like a lion. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up here because I don't know if my mic is going to even survive. I've got this little thing blinking, and so we want to make sure we get it all in. I hope you have a good week. And this week, really, the moon Uranus could be a strong spot. And then more stellium in areas of aggression and strong-headedness. So note, wherever you want to hit your head against a wall, that's probably what's getting your attention this week. And we got Mars in Aquarius. So it is about thought, and it's about action, thought and action. Okay, take care. Good to see you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share the podcast if you can, and check me out over on Patreon because I'm posting more over there as well. Take care. Bye.
Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com, including discounts. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at Astro Energy Astrology Show.